Because a language is something someone else speaks. An accent is me interpreting how they're using mine. It's a completely different thing.
A lot of comedians use voices in their sets. It's not uncommon, but it is a sideshow. The jokes are supported by the immersion that is brought by the comedian's character impression or impersonation of some person, race, or ethnicity. But for Trevor Noah, these things are not a sideshow. They're neither an appetizer nor a dessert. They're the main course, and everything else serves them. Language is the main focus of all three of Trevor Noah's sets to date. While most comedians branch out, talking about different topics and ideas, Noah burrows down, really immersing himself in the weeds of a single subject.
Accents determine how we see people.
Noah uses a lot of accents in his sets. He slips in and out of them so seamlessly that you almost forget they're there.
I was thinking, bro. That's why I'm voting for Brexit. Und they are now hereby uninvited.
Yeah, fluffy rabbits and teddy bears.
Yes, thank you. I was thinking that maybe we could...
This is called India.
Talk properly, I can't hear you. What happened? Oh, there's just something about here. And they're like, oh, I don't know. They left.
While watching him, it's easy to miss that he has moved from one accent to another for two reasons. The first is, he's always switching. If you change something enough, eventually change becomes the norm and consistency is odd. For example, when he starts speaking to a Japanese person in a Japanese accent, nobody seems to find that part of the story odd.
You speak a very strange Japanese. Where did you learn? I said, I learned in all different places, all over my life. Why do you speak English with a Japanese accent now? I don't know. I get carried away.
The second is how well he transitions. He doesn't need time to remember or internalize the accent he's moving to. He can perform it instantly. And this makes for a wonderful listening experience.
And my friend Mick was waiting for me backstage, and he was like, oh, Trevor, how was your show? I said, it was really good. Mick, how was yours? He's like, oh, not too bad. You know what, me and the lads were going down to the pub, gonna grab a drink. You wanna join us? And I said, no, I don't really drink, Mick. I'm just gonna go home. He's like, oh, it's not about drinking, right? We're just gonna hang out, right? Just grab a wee little drink.
To Noah, accents have a very real connotation that is separate from the language, which he feels belongs in its own separate category.
And yet the truth is, an accent is not a measure of intelligence. It's just someone speaking your language with the rules of theirs. Because a language is something someone else speaks. An accent is me interpreting how they're using mine.
He also spends time talking about how an accent or a dialect can, over time, become their own language.
As an idea, if you move to another country, you're probably going to have to learn another language. I didn't realize that would happen in America as well, because I speak English, but here people speak American. Similar, but not the same, right?
He presents American as its own separate language and tells these stories of surprise and stress that sound very similar to stories you would hear of someone if they were in a country and didn't speak the language.
I understand nothing, even the small words, just the pronunciation. For instance, I pronounce the opposites of uncle as aunt. I say my aunt. Out here you say my ant, which to me is an insect. Because that's what I say, battery, a small form of power. So in America you say battery, which to me is a different form of power. Yeah, do me a favor, from now on, please, it's not zebra, okay? It's zebra. For instance, the thing you drink, I call that water. Yes, water. In American, you say water. You also have to learn the meanings of words that you already knew when you moved to America. For instance, where I'm from, there's a garment that men commonly wear under their shirts. It's white and it's sleeveless. Yeah? Where I'm from, we refer to this as a vest, okay? I've now learned in American, it is known as a wife beater.
I'm here for holiday.
Holiday, sir?
Yes.
Which one? You mean vacation, sir? Battery. Yes, of course.
But he's in America, and he's speaking English.
Because I speak English, but here people speak American. Similar, but not the same.
right?
To Noah, the language is separate of the accent, but just as important. Accents can have all sorts of connotations that come from understanding the words that are being said. The language, however, is free of all that baggage. To him, a foreign language is literally music to his ears.
If anything, Russian just sounds like a DJ is scratching on a turntable.
Yeah, don't worry about that. I'll let you know what's happening. No, Vlad. No, listen, Vlad.
You know? Yeah, every single song is the same. Every trap song to me sounds like a toddler complaining about life.
And I'll be like, yo, Isaac, what happened, buddy? He'll be like,
He'll layer on the languages with caricatures, which is a crude impression with certain traits being widely distorted. This can be a cop-out a lot of times because we've all seen people make caricatures of things that are generally contentious or perhaps just not even liked. This can act as a crutch, lifting up something that is otherwise not as funny. But Noah is making fun of UNICEF ads. The fact that this comes across as funny and is not just generally torn apart for being tone deaf demonstrates the level of control that he has over the form.
He just tap danced over 6 laser beams. That's what we like about that joke.
To be clear, he's not perfect and he does have 1 or 2 crutches in his act.
you were talking. That means you're going to get a beating. But because it's opera school,
Everybody's getting one! You're getting a beating! You're getting a beating! You're getting a beating! Everybody's getting a beating!
But he doesn't stop there. He tightens his control of the language further by bringing in impressions. An impression of a person who doesn't share your accent is more difficult than the accent alone because you cannot ballpark how a word is said. It has to be how that person says the word. It's more difficult than a caricature because you can't bloat an attribute. It all has to be spot on.
I can't go fast because Michael Caine talks very, very slowly.
Right, this is how Michael Caine speaks. Michael Caine speaks to his nose like that. He gets very, very specific. It's very like that. When he gets loudly, it gets very loud indeed.
Noah understands all of this, and he uses it to create incredibly accurate impressions.
We will build a great wall along the southern border, and Mexico will pay for the wall.
We're gonna build a wall, folks. Who's gonna pay? Mexico.
His advantage as a comedian is he can use these impressions to put notable figures into hilarious situations.
who the hell is this? I'm not telling you.
Noah's biggest strength is his ability to dwell on a topic. Really take the time to peel back all the layers of the proverbial onion. We talked about how he does this at a broad level with language, but he can also do it for very specific phrases and mannerisms within the language itself. You can see a simple instance of this, of how he works "nah mean" in the conversation.
Yeah. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's brought up in passing, and then 2 minutes later, he stops what he's saying and backtracks to fully explain just how great this is.
It's the most amazing use of English I've ever come across in my life. Just that one word alone. Just the strength of that. Nah mean. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? It just...
This comes across as something that has ensnared his senses completely.
It's the most amazing use of English I've ever come across in my life. Just that one word alone. It sums it all up, doesn't it? It's just, neither question nor statements. It's just, I hope and I pray that someday I have a daughter, just so I may name her Namin,
A more subtle yet extended example of this is his use of "dis-you." Again, a dialectic phrase he discovered while learning to be black, and he's fascinated with how easy it is for black people to bring you up.
You don't believe me? Get a black American man to come up to you and just be like, hey yo, this you? Nah, this you? This you? This you? And you'll be like, I think it is.
And later, after you've forgotten all about it, he shows you just how quickly white people can use it to bring you down.
Is this you?
Never before have I felt so much pressure to look like myself.
However, his observations on Obama are probably the best indication of his tendency to dwell. His thoughts on the former president span across multiple sets. First, Obama's general demeanor is brought up in African American.
That's when they wait, because they have to walk. That's why if you look, Obama, every time he comes out of the jets or makes a speech, he's always just got that little bounce just before. Because in his head, he's like, you never know, you never know, you never know, you never know, you never know.
As well as the bounce that black people have added to improve walking.
And then black Americans came along, and then they just added in that bounce. And then all of a sudden, you look really cool. You just, you know?
Then, in an entirely different set, years later, he rehashes Obama's demeanor with an additional layer of thought on how Obama has worked this into his life as president.
But Barack, he wouldn't step out, he'd emerge. He'd emerge like he was stepping out of the plane and into a music video. You know, he'd just do that thing where he'd come out. And then he'd go down the stairs, doing it the only way he could, you know?
So of course, we would have an entire bit about how Obama got his accent. It's really inevitable if you think about it, because Barack Obama has an unmistakably distinctive accent. And for someone who loves language and accents as much as Noah, it's hard to imagine a better fit for a premise.
Nelson Mandela was sitting on the chair. He looked over. Ah, young Barack, how are you? And Barack was like, oh man, Nelson Mandela, man, that's the craziest day of my life, man. I can't believe this shit right now.
The big takeaway from this is that he's able to extract a fair amount of comedy without really telling any jokes. Barack Obama's initial impression is funny, I guess, but there's no real way to sustain that across the entire bit. Noah's mastery of accents and impersonation, combined with his knowledge of comedy and showmanship, allow him to pull and play with the details of this, I'm just going to assume, fake story in a really entertaining and comedic fashion. And this is backed up by the audience, which gets increasingly excited as they start to hear the voice come together.
Okay, I guess I do speak fast sometimes. I could slow it way down. Is this good? Okay, I could try to I could try to bring some bass. Is that lower than that? Lower, way down. I could keep it here. I can keep it here. I can feel it. Yeah. America. This is my country. Yes. This. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
For all the varied types of comedians and seemingly endless number of potential premises, it's fascinating to see someone who spends so much time dwelling on and thinking about one thing. It's interesting to see just how much comedy you can find in one place when you take the time to look for it. Hello, thanks for watching. Please let me know what you liked or didn't down below, and I hope to see you back.